Well, thank you, Anjana, for the warm welcome. Guys, hasn't the session already been awesome? Priya, if you're here, if you're listening to me now, you have already touched 700 lives right here. And in fact, you know what, Priya, when I was listening to your story, I had the goosebumps because I had a similar story too. And I just felt that this is brilliant. In fact, Swati, thanks to you because you are making it happen out there. You're going out and telling everybody that true wellness is possible. Guys, welcome to the session. Welcome to the later part of the session, which is the topic on the inflammation. Before I really jump onto the main topic, I want all of you to write onto the chat on why are you here today. I'm sure you are here today for a reason. आप यहाँ पे किसी एक रीजन की वजह से हैं, या तो आप ऑलरेडी किसी डिसीज पे काम कर रहे हैं या फिर आपको कोई डिसीज है जिस पे आप काम करना चाहते हैं. आई वॉन्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू राइट ऑन टू द चैट कि आप किस डिसीज पे या किस चीज पे काम कर रहे हैं, करना चाहते हैं, सो दैट आई गेट एन आइडिया, मुझे आइडिया लगे कि आपका बॉडी में क्या प्रॉब्लम है, एंड आई वुड बी एबल टू कवर दैट इन माई प्रेजेंटेशन. वाइल आई बी sharing my presentation, I want the fastest finger first and you to write on which issue you want to, you want to really work on your health today. So I will just, in the meantime, share my presentation. Anjana, if you could just tell me if you can see my presentation.
Yes, Mayank.
Perfect. Great. So before I really move on to the topic, I want to tell you my story. Why? How did I come over here? मैं यहाँ पे क्यों आया? I'm an engineer by profession, like Anjana mentioned, and मैं यहाँ पर इसलिए आया because मेरे को खुद बहुत सारी problems थी. This is me in 2014. 2014 में ये मेरी तस्वीर है. I was in Japan for a year and I came back from Japan with a lot of health issues. The severe constipation, this is not me, by the way. The belly fat, you can already see the belly which I have, and the hypertension issues. My systolic was always 130, 140. I was just 26 at that time, and that's when I chose to choose the true wellness and not just popping up the pill. And this is how I became after a few years. I came down from 86 to 72. This is me just a couple of years back. And I believe that true wellness is possible for all of us, guys. And now I'm going to read out the problems which you have mentioned. You mentioned the weight loss, difficulty in female, the gut health, the ankle pain, the PCOD, the diabetes, the skin issues, the autoimmune issues, acid reflux, stress management, inflammation, weight loss, BP, identification inflammation. Guys, I'm going to answer all your questions today because ये सारी बीमारियों के नाम अलग है, लेकिन इनके पीछे कहानी एक ही है और उसके बारे में आज हम बात करेंगे. आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट द कॉमन फैक्टर. मैं चाहता हूं कि आप बताएं इन सारी बीमारियों में क्या कॉमन फैक्टर. इतनी सारी प्रॉब्लम लिखी है मैंने यहाँ पे. कैंसर लिखा है, न्यूरोलॉजिकल डिसीज लाइक एल्जाइमर, पार्किंसंस, या फिर आस्थमा, ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस, ऑस्ट्रोपीनिया, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, autoimmune diseases like IBD, or the lupus, or the type 1 diabetes, or the Hashimoto thyroid, or the heart failure, the heart stroke, the hypertension. इन सब चीजों में एक ही कहानी छुपी है बस. अब वो कहानी क्या है? वो कहानी है क्रोनिक इन्फ्लेमेशन, जिसके बारे में आज हम बात करने वाले हैं. व्हाट इज इन्फ्लेमेशन? इन्फ्लेमेशन है क्या? मतलब what is the whole this thing called inflammation? When I say inflammation, आपके दिमाग में क्या आता है? Can you just type on the chat when or you think about the inflammation, what is it you think about inflammation? If I say सूजन, क्या आपके दिमाग में वो सूजन आती है या फिर कुछ और आता है? Swelling inside the body, Shilpa, yeah, swelling inside the body. Can somebody else type recovery, body fighting, many cravings, सूजन, जलन. ओके, आई थिंक आप जलन लिखना चाह रहे हैं. दीपाली, स्वेलिंग, या स्वेलिंग, जैसे आप अगर आपका हाथ बहुत जोर से कहीं हिट हो जाए या फिर अगर हड्डी टूट जाए तो वहां पे स्वेलिंग आ जाती है. ये स्वेलिंग बॉडी के अंदर भी होती है. इमेजिन दैट स्वेलिंग इनसाइड योर बॉडी, especially around your cells. And if you can look at this image, that is what I want to talk about through this image. All the cells are fine, but there is one cell which is swelled up. सूज गया है वो swell. And when this is swelled up, it has gone into the trouble. Now, what is that trouble you want to understand? देखो हमारा जो बॉडी है ना, the cells which we have, if I consider this as a cell, it has a function of energizing itself through the nutrition which will come from outside. तो बाहर से न्यूट्रिशन आएगा, वो अंदर पेनिट्रेट करेगा, और अंदर का जो वेस्ट है, it will spit out that waste into the, इसको बोलते हैं इंटरटेस्ट्रल फ्लूइड. ये फ्लूइड है, इसमें फ्लूइड में वेस्ट डालेगा. थ्रू दिस fluid it will go to the bloodstream, and through the urine or through the other ways it will just come out. That is how our body function. But if it is swelled up, अगर ये outside layer hard हो गई, now the outside जो nutrition है वो अंदर enter नहीं कर सकता, और अंदर का waste बाहर नहीं आ सकता, and that is the trouble what a body gets into. And what is that which is getting built up? अगर एक अंदर waste रह गया, what is built up? It is built up the waste. और बॉडी के केस में वेस्ट को एसिड का लैंग्वेज देते हैं. एसिड इज अ वर्ड टू यूज. एसिड इज स्टक into a body or into the cell, and that is what is actually causing the inflammation over a period of over time. Now coming to, अगर हमें वेस्ट की ही बातें करनी है, तो why don't we talk about कि ऐसे क्या क्या वेस्ट आते हैं बॉडी में जो ये इन्फ्लेमेशन को बिल्डअप कर रहे हैं. व्हाट ऑल द वेज डू वी गेट इन द बॉडी जिसकी वजह से हमारी बॉडी में ऐसा इन्फ्लेमेशन रेज हो रहा है. तो आई वांट टू गिव एन एनालॉजी ऑफ द हाउस. अगर आप घर में हैं तो घर में बहुत सारे तरह के डिफरेंट वेस्ट बिल्डअप होते हैं, एंड आई वांट टू गिव यू दैट एनालॉजी विद द वेस्ट बिल्डिंग अप इन आवर बॉडी. सो आपके घर में अगर कांच टूट जाता है, कोई भी चीज टूट जाती है, वो वेस्ट बिल्डअप होता है. इसका अगर मैं इफ आई टेक अनदर थिंग इज, हमारी बॉडी में जब सेल्स मरते हैं तो वो वेस्ट बिल्डअप होता है, उसका वेस्ट बिल्डअप होता है. दूसरा, आप टूथपेस्ट यूज करते हैं, फिर कोई भी ऐसी चीज यूज करते हैं जो एक्चुअली उसके अंदर की चीज यूज करके फिर वो वेस्ट हो जाती है. दैट्स हाउ योर बॉडी इज ऑल्सो ब्रीदिंग. आपकी बॉडी भी ब्रीद कर रही है, और वो जब ब्रीद कर रही है तो उसकी वजह से भी वेस्ट आ रहा है. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज, जब आप कुछ घर में कुछ बनाते हैं, आपने वुड वर्क ही कराया और उसका वेस्ट होता है. इसी तरह से जब सेल्स ग्रो होते हैं, आपकी बॉडी और सेल्स बनाती है, तो उसका वेस्ट बिल्टअप होता है. दैट इज वन वे इट इज बिल्डिंग द वेस्ट. नाउ अनदर थिंग, आप घर में सामान मंगवाते हैं, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट तरह के सामान मंगवाते हैं, लेकिन सामान तो छोटा सा आया और उसकी पैकेजिंग इतनी बड़ी आई. दिस इज अ बिग वेस्ट विच इज बिल्डिंग अप इन योर हाउस. नाउ दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन यू गो आउट. आप जब बाहर जाते हैं जंक खाने, तो आप इतना सारा सामान कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं. अगर आप इन सबको देखें तो इसमें न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू बहुत ही कम है, और बाकी सारा वेस्ट है. इसको बोलते हैं डेड फूड, जो पेड़ पे नहीं लटकता, ऑलरेडी मरा हुआ फूड है. वो फूड जिसके अंदर न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू बहुत कम है, ये सारा का सारा जाके वेस्ट बिल्टअप करेगा. न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू बस इतनी सी देगा बॉडी को, एंड दैट इज अ वेस्ट अगेन बिल्डिंग अप इन अ बॉडी. अनदर वेस्ट, आपने कभी ऐसा देखा है, मैं बहुत छोटे टाउन से आया हूँ, विच इज बुलंदशहर इन यूपी, और वहां पर बहुत नॉर्मली ऐसा होता है कि आपके पड़ोसी आपके घर में वेस्ट डाल देते हैं. क्या ऐसा आपके साथ होता है कि आपके पड़ोसी आपके घर में वेस्ट डाल देते हैं? इनफैक्ट आई एम इन बैंगलोर राइट नाउ, इन बैंगलोर टू दिस हैपेंस कि एक पड़ोसी दूसरे पड़ोसी के घर के सामने वेस्ट डाल देता है. This is what happens when you go out. There are certain things which are not in your hands, like the water contamination, like the environment, the waste coming from the environment. आप ब्यूटी प्रोडक्ट्स यूज करते हैं, किसी तरह कॉस्मेटिक्स यूज करते हैं, द वेस्ट कमिंग, द केमिकल्स कमिंग फ्रॉम देयर, एंड ऑल काइंड ऑफ अ स्ट्रेस. आप गए थे किसी दोस्त की पार्टी में, लेकिन वहां पे किसी ने आपको कुछ बोल दिया, आपको बहुत बुरा लग गया. फिर आप लोग गए थे अपने रिलेटिव के पास, और वहां पे चार बातें हो गई, और आप बहुत स्ट्रेस में आ गए उसकी वजह से, या फिर आप इतनी स्ट्रेसफुल जॉब में हो कि वो ही बहुत बड़ा वेस्ट एड अप कर रहा है आपकी पूरी बॉडी में. एंड दैट इज अनदर काइंड ऑफ वेस्ट विच इज बिल्डिंग अप इन अ बॉडी. नाउ द नेक्स्ट थिंग, another kind of a waste which is building up in your body, and that is, in fact, आपने कभी सोचा है, कभी आप अगर you have a house, right, and you always have a waste collection which is happening outside your house, and the waste collection which is happening, you always are feeling कि यार आज वो waste collect करने वाले भैया आ जाएं, but वो हमेशा नहीं आते. आई स्टे इन बैंगलोर, और यहाँ पे waste collection almost हर दिन होता है, लेकिन जिस दिन वो नहीं आते हैं, वो waste is always kept in our kitchen, and we are always thinking about, and that is rotting. In fact, हमारी body waste collect करने वाले भैया तो नहीं आते हमारे पास, but we have the 4 ways through which our body really detoxify and remove that waste from the system, and that is defecation, urination, expiration, perspiration, and the fourth one in girls is menstruation cycles which they get every single month. So that is the way a body removes the waste from a system. But if any of it is not happening properly, then that waste is building up in your body inside. Now, what happened when that waste collect? All that is creating an inflammation in your body. And I want to talk about few diseases today which are actually being caused by that waste and not by anything else. Now, when I talk about cardiovascular disease, which is more of a heart disease, everybody just type on the chat. What do you think is whenever you look at your blood test reports, do you think cholesterol is the biggest reason of your heart issues? Can you just write in the chat, yes or no? You feel the high cholesterol is the biggest reason of your heart issues? Yes, 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 no. Okay, some people are saying no as well. Why? Yes, 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 yes. No, okay. I'm just realizing the people who are the coaches in the community are writing no. But actually, guys, whenever you look at the cholesterol, that is not the villain. Look at this look at your artery, and the white thing what is flowing here inside is the cholesterol in your body. And this cholesterol, the poor thing, we are causing and making this a villain. However, this thing is the hero in our body. Cholesterol is not the villain, guys, it's the hero. I'm telling you something disruptive today. The myth is the cardiovascular disease is happening because of high cholesterol, but the fact is it's happening because of the oxidized LDL or the inflammation which is happening because of the LDL. Now, understand this, guys, today. Once for all, understand this. Now, look at this. This looks like the base of your artery, like the floor of your artery. And this is like normal artery. On the top of it, you have this endothelial cell or the endothelial line, you call it. Through this endothelial line, इसके ऊपर से if you have seen there is a cholesterol which is free flowing, बहुत आराम से cholesterol is free flowing, but because of the excess waste which is fat soluble, they just tap this LDL into the base of the layer or the first layer of your artery. So if there's a free flowing LDL and there's a waste, it captures this LDL and goes stick to your artery, and that buildup of the LDL. So look at this whole thing. There's a fat soluble inside. So this is a cholesterol. If you look at this cholesterol, it's all tapped inside. Now it is tapped by whom? Is it tapped by LDL? No, it's tapped by the waste. It is tapped by that extra waste which is there in our artery. And once it gets tapped, we blame the LDL. How about we start blaming the waste, and that's the solution. How to really get rid of it? इससे कैसे दूरी पाई जा सकती है? We can just start eating the food which actually have fat soluble vitamins, and if you start taking the fat soluble vitamin like vitamin A, D, K, if you can start taking all of it, it'll start removing all of it from here, and some वाटर सॉल्युबल विटामिन, बिकॉज द टॉप लेयर, अगर आप टॉप लेयर देखें यहाँ पे, वो टॉप लेयर के ऊपर से जो गंदगी निकालने का काम है वो वाटर सॉल्युबल विटामिन निकाल सकते हैं, एंड दैट इज लाइक विटामिन सी, विटामिन बी कॉम्प्लेक्स, दोज आर द वाटर सॉल्युबल विटामिन. इफ यू स्टार्ट टेकिंग देम, your cardiovascular diseases will start coming up. But how to know? आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि कार्डियोवास्कुलर डिसीज मुझे है या नहीं है? नाउ ओनली कोलेस्ट्रॉल कैन नॉट टेल यू. अगर आप केवल कोलेस्ट्रॉल देख रहे हो, आपका कोलेस्ट्रॉल 300 है एंड योर जॉ ड्रॉप, don't worry. You need to look at two more values if you want to really understand if you have the cardiovascular disease or not, and that is HSCRP, which is highly sensitive C-reactive protein, and homocysteine. Homocysteine is the protein, is an amino acid. If it does not break down, it goes start to deposit in your arteries, and HSCRP tells you exactly how much inflammation you have in arteries. So get these tests done. In fact, somebody is invited, you ask them, how can I get these tests done, and which all things I need to get the test done, and they'll tell you what all things you need to do in terms of understanding how much inflammation you have. Now this block up, this plaque is the inflammation in your artery. In fact, you know what? Shall I tell you a fact? Most people do not die because of heart. Do not die. Those people who get the heart attack, they do not die because of the high cholesterol issues. They die because of the inflammation in the artery, and that is happening because of this oxidized LDL is trapped over here. That is a fact. Now let's move to the next one. Type 2 diabetes. How many of you think that the type 2 diabetes happens because of the pancreas not working? Can you just type on the chat? The pancreas काम नहीं करती है, इसलिए मुझे cholesterol के issue और मुझे diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes over here, guys. So just type in the chat. The pancreas are not working. That's why our pancreas is not working that well, and that's why I get the diabetes issues. Now, if I'm already asking, some of you are already thinking might not be the right answer, but yes, you're right. Pancreas not working is not the right answer, because pancreas for type 2 diabetes is already working. In fact, 90% of the cases of diabetes are type 2 diabetes, not type 1 diabetes. So pancreas not working is not the reason. The reason is inflammation again. So understand, the top layer of the cell is swollen up, and how our body absorb the glucose is there is an insulin receptor on your cell, and once the insulin sits on the receptor, then this transport of the glucose in the body cell happens. So your body cell can only transport in your body only when you have the insulin sitting on the insulin receptor. But how about this is swollen up? If this top layer of the cell is already swollen up, you do whatever you can. This insulin receptor is not receiving the insulin at all, and that is called insulin resistance. Your body has met the insulin resistance. It has started to resist the insulin because of the inflammation it has on the top of it. And if it does not get the insulin, poor guy does not let the glucose go inside. So what we do, I mean, I'm not saying you should not do that, but we always start taking the metformin or any kind of glucomet or any medicine given by the doctors, which is fine. You should take it if you have it. But what it is doing, you should know. Is it solving the inflammation? Metformin, glucomet, are they solving the inflammation? No, boss, they are not. What they're doing, they're only killing one enzyme which is called AMPK. Just write it down. AMPK. They're just killing that enzyme. What that enzyme does, it metabolizes the sugar. If that poor guy, which is the enzyme AMPK, gets killed, automatically the glucose does not get. तो आपने रसगुल्ला खाया सोच के कि मुझे डायबिटीज है, मुझे रसगुल्ला खाना है, लेकिन दवाई तो ले रहा हूं ना. आपने रसगुल्ला खाया लेकिन रसगुल्ले से ग्लूकोज निकल के बॉडी में गया ही नहीं. कितना बढ़िया है ना. You can eat whatever you want and you'll not get the glucose spike up at all because you are taking metformin. But understand, body has made AMPK for a reason. It does not just metabolize the sugar, but also helps your heart functioning. So anybody who has a type 2 diabetes and they're on metformin, not changing their lifestyle, guys, they are moving towards a lethal disease which is called a heart attack or heart stroke. In fact, you know what the fact of the matter is? Most people who have type 2 diabetes, they do not die of any of the pancreatic cancers or the kidney disease. They die because of the heart attack. Check the statistics. Most people who have the type 2 diabetes, they die of heart attack and not because of any other disease. Most of them. And the reason is because they have been taking metformin and not taking care of their entire health. Now, how do you know whether you have the type 2 diabetes? And if you have the insulin resistance, get this blood test done for yourself, which is fasting insulin. And guys, I'm telling you, this is an expensive test. Even HSCRP, homocysteine are expensive tests. And your doctor is scared of writing that because it's expensive, you don't get it done. But for your health, and understand the root cause, get these tests done tomorrow or day after. Ask your coach, ask the person who has invited you here if you can get these tests done and which all tests you need to do based on your entire health. They'll tell you what exactly you need to do in terms of the entire health. Now, let's move forward. Obesity. Don't worry about body shaming, guys. I took this picture as a free picture available on the internet, so I did not take a random guy. I put the picture of that guy. So this guy is an obese guy, obviously. Now, what is the reason of the obesity? Inflammation once again. Why inflammation? Because if your body cell is not able to absorb the nutrition, automatically there are toxicity built up and the toxicity goes around all the body. In fact, you know what? Scientists did an experiment. So I call it a revolutionary experiment. They fed mice all the junk food of the world. They fed them pizza, pasta, burger, whatever. After 3 months, now again a question to you guys. After 3 months, do you think after eating all of that, all the junk food, the mice would have gained weight? After 3 months, they did an analysis of check the weight of each mice. Do you think after 3 months they would gain weight because of the pizza, pasta, burger they were eating? Can you just type in the chat yes or no? They gained weight or did not gain weight? Gain weight? Only one person said yes. Yes. Gain weight. In fact, you know what? After 3 months, none of the mice gained weight. They had exactly the same weight what they had 3 months back. Exactly the same weight, no change in the weight. But they had the sugar spike up in the body. They had the fatty liver issues. The thyroid glands start to behave improperly. They had the poop inconsistency. They became very lazy. They continued the entire experiment for another 3 months. And you know what they found? They all gained weight, which means first you have all these problems like fatty liver, the poop inconsistency, the sugar levels spike up, the thyroid imbalance, and then you become a little lazy. You start to feel a lot more, less energetic by the time you wake up tired when you wake up from the sleep. All that happens first, and then you slowly start gaining the weight and leads you to obesity. So, guys, it's inflammation which is causing all that happen. Now, move to the next one, and that is autoimmune disease. Now, this is interesting. Why do I have these people? Why do I have the Indian Army over here in the autoimmune disease? Because let's consider they are the WBCs. When I was a child, my teacher told WBC, white blood cells, are the saviors of our immune system. They're the immune, they basically define our immune system, the T cells and the B cells. What do? They fight everything what attacks our body, especially the bacteria, any kind of pathogens, any kind of infections, they fight that. And when they fight, they win and they save us from any kind of an infection. What is an autoimmune disease then? Think about it, guys. If you have so much of waste built up, and the waste is so much so, it considered like there is an army which is on the border, and the terrorists, all terrorists come inside the country, God forbid, but let's say all of them come inside the country. All the army have to be removed from the border, have to be in the country itself. Now, consider another case, all these terrorists are wearing the civilian clothes and roaming around. What will this army do? This army will start shooting the civilians also because halka sa bhi shak hoga, they'll just kill on the spot. And that is what the WBCs will do. There's so much of waste built up in the body. There's so much of infection pathogens, so much of toxins being there in the blood. Your WBC will start attacking all the toxins, but not just the toxins, but will also start attacking all the right body cells. So anything which you do to increase your immunity will kill yourself because your waste built up is so high. The first thing we do for anybody who has autoimmune disease, work on the anti-inflammatory diet. Work on them, give them an anti-inflammatory diet. Autoimmune disease are really the curse in the country. Now, all these diseases, talk about rheumatoid arthritis, the Crohn's disease, the type 1 diabetes, the psoriasis, the Hashimoto thyroid, all of them are the autoimmune diseases. Let's come to the meat of the matter. How to really overcome inflammation? ऐसा क्या कर सकते हैं हम that inflammation really comes down our body? Eat right? Yeah, absolutely. Now, how many of you, let me ask you a question again. How many of you think eat right, which means, Sumita, I'll tell you what is an anti-inflammatory diet. But see, understand this whole concept. Eat right depends on the body. Let me ask you a question. Is broccoli a healthy food or an unhealthy food? Can you all type on the chat? Is broccoli a healthy food or unhealthy food? Healthy. Yeah. Broccoli is a healthy food. Shall I tell you? Preetham told. Depends. Depends on what? Depends what do you have as a problem. If you have a Hashimoto thyroid or a normal thyroid as well, if I give you broccoli, your thyroid levels will go off balance once again. And you will start gaining a lot more weight than you were when you started the program. So healthy or non-healthy depends on your health. Now, let me ask you another question. Is beetroot healthy or not healthy? Is beetroot healthy? Say yes. If it is healthy, say yes. Beetroot healthy or not healthy? Beetroot is healthy or not healthy? No, you've not got it then. Beetroot, healthy or not healthy, depends on your health. Because beetroot has got the high glycemic index. And if you're diabetic, if you have high sugar levels, and if I start giving the beetroot, your blood sugar level will go off the roof again. And it would not be healthy for you. So healthy or not healthy depends on your health, guys. Do not go on the internet and start finding out good food for diabetes. If you do that, the biggest ruckus you'll create in your life. Because, or let's say a lot of people do that. I want to lose weight. And they go on the internet and they say, weight loss diet. Get your blood test done. See if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic or high sugar levels. Ask an expert. They'll tell you what food is best for you. Next one is, now let me ask you this. Anybody who has high inflammation, Should they go to the gym and do the strength training? Should they do the strength training or they should not do the strength training? They say yes or no. Strength training, yes or no. If you say yes, that means they should do it or they should not do it. No, no, no. Yes, yes, no. Confusion, immoderate confusion, or all confusion. Guys, anybody who's on a heavy strength training, the first thing we do or I do is get them off the gym and tell them, boss, do just yoga or walk, because the more strength training or heavy exercises is just going to build up that thickening of the cells outside a lot more. So probably you need to choose the exercise the right way. The next one is stress. You need to get rid of the stress, rid of the stress. Everybody knows it. I don't want to talk about it. Sleep like a baby. Yeah, baby. If you will reduce, if you want to reduce the inflammation, the one way is sleep like a baby. Guys, sleeping is the best analgesic the God has made, the best PCM, the paracetamol. And then last one is remove toxicity. So why do I have utensils over there? Because one of the biggest ways people are adding toxicity in the kitchen is through aluminium, the low quality steel, or the iron vessels and things like that. Guys, speak to an expert. Ask them, what is that I can do to reduce toxicity from my kitchen? In fact, you don't want to go out to get the pollution and get the toxicity built up in your body. You can go to the kitchen and find toxicity right there in the vessel you're cooking. I'm telling the fact. It's right there in the vessel you're cooking, because you're either using a low quality steel, you're using an iron vessel or aluminum vessel. All of them are going to build toxicity. If you're using mud pots, kudos. But shall I tell you one thing? There is something called a red chemical which they have started putting onto the mud pots to make it look. They've used the red thing, and that is what's getting a lot of toxicity as well. With that, I come to an end of this session. And if we have come to the end of this inflammation session, I want to give you a giveaway. And the giveaway from my side, guys, is an anti inflammatory diet for one day. And that anti inflammatory diet I will share with your coaches. Do not ask them right away, give me the anti inflammatory diet. It'll come to your coaches by the end of the day tomorrow. So by the end of the tomorrow, you'll get an anti inflammatory diet, which will be, I think most of you can use it. But then again, ask somebody who's invited you, can you use the anti-inflammatory diet? And that is a giveaway. But understand, guys, whatever your health issues today, whatever you've written, the name is different, but the problem is the same. You go to the doctor, great, but you know that it's only symptomatic. They're just taking care of the symptoms, which is also great. But why don't you work on the lifestyle? Solve it from the root. If you can do that, you know that you have created an impact on your health, and you'll be speaking like Priya one day over here in this session. Thank you, guys.